Good morning, students. In this video, we are going to start the chapter Heredity and Evolution. The branch of science which deals with heredity and variation is known as genetics. What is heredity? The transmission of characters or traits from one generation to the next generation is called heredity. Chromosomes carry the hereditary information to be passed on to the next generations. What is variation? The differences in the characters or traits between the parent and offspring is called variation. There are two types of variations, somatic variation and gametic variation. Somatic variation. This type of variation takes place in the body cells. That is why this type of variation is called as somatic variation. Soma means body cell. That is the reason this variation is neither inherited nor transmitted, because this type of variation will take place always in the body cells. It is also known as acquired traits. That is, the characters which are acquired by an individual during the lifetime which are not transmitted to the next generation. For example, if we cut the tails of dogs or mice, it will not bring any change in the tail in the next generation dogs or mice. That is, it will not result into tailless dogs or mice in the next generation. Gametic variation. Gametic variation means the variation which takes place in the gametes, which are also known as reproductive cells. That is sperm or ovum. Gametic variation is inherited as well as transmitted, because this type of variation takes place in the gametes. This type of variations are also known as inherited traits. For example, human height, skin color, that is complexion, color of the eyeball, hair color, are transmitted to the next generation. Accumulation of variation during reproduction. Variation occurs during reproduction whether organisms multiply sexually or asexually. Variations in asexual reproductions are fewer, and it occurs due to small inaccuracies in DNA copying, which can also be termed as mutation. In other words, mutation is a change that occurs in the DNA sequence either due to inaccuracies in DNA copying or as the result of environmental factor like UV light. Variations in sexual reproductions are always large. It occurs due to crossing over, separation of chromosomes, and mutation. So there is always larger scope of variation in case of sexual reproduction. Now let's have a look on importance of variation. Depending upon the nature of variations, different individuals would have different kinds of advantage. For example, bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in a heat wave. Main advantage of variation to species is that it increases the chances of its survival in a changing environment. That is, organisms having useful variations can easily cope up with the changing environmental conditions, while the other organisms not having variations may be wiped out completely. For example, free earlobes and attached earlobes are two variants which are found in human population. Mendel and his work on inheritance. Gregor Johann Mendel started his experiments on plant breeding and hybridization. He proposed the laws of inheritance in living organisms. Mendel was known as father of genetics. Mendel selected garden pea, that is Pisum sativum, which is the scientific name for garden pea, for his experiments. He used a number of contrasting characters for garden pea. These contrasting characters of garden peas are like round and wrinkled seeds or white and violet flowers. Mendel's experimental material. Mendel chose garden pea as his experiment material because of the following reasons. Firstly, availability of detectable contrasting traits of several characters. Short lifespan of the plant. And in garden pea, self-fertilization and cross-fertilization can be carried out. Garden peas can be easily grown in the garden and large number of seeds are produced. Mendel's experiments. Mendel conducted a series of experiments in which he crossed the pollinated plants to study one character at a time. So he carried out monohybrid cross. In the next video, we will discuss about monohybrid cross and what is the result of monohybrid cross. Till then, study the chapter and take care. Thank you.